Hello everyone, this is Bentley from Kent, Washington, and today we're going to do an update on a ton of the rainbows from Gary Lange. We're starting with the running rivers right away. As you can see, there's quite a few of these little guys swimming around, and they're much easier to see now than they were in some previous videos. And in a minute, I'll pan, and you'll see there's even more on the left over here. I would guesstimate there's somewhere between, conservative would say 20, more like 25 to 30 fish in there probably, which is really good. And then over here, this is where the axelrodi and goldie-eyed acais are. And you can see some little spots swimming around. Those are the axelrodi. They just got released from that ring, which is why that ring's not pushing any air. And I'll kind of pan down trying to see them a little better. You notice the one big fry in there, that's a goldie-eyed acai, and there's a bunch of little guys swimming around. There might be a couple other goldie-eyed acais in the small size with these axelrodi, but unfortunately, my goldie-eyed acais had a ton of fungus. I got them out of the water, I got them in the tank. They should have been hatching within the next 3 days to upwards of a week. And I would say within 48 hours, almost every egg fungused. Here's a little just kind of update on the Calibiru. I was trying to get my reflection off the glass, but then you really can't see the fish, so we'll pull out in a second here, as I was just doing a kind of a speed run through the fish room of the tanks. I also had a problem with the Aleni, and thankfully, Mr. Lang, being an awesome, awesome person, had checked in with me about, I would say, a week and a half ago. He just wanted to see how I was doing and how I was doing with all the fish. And I explained to him a problem that I had that was completely my fault. And out of the goodness of his heart, he was shipping some eggs to a member of the club. And you can see here, there's some Aleni floating around and a spawning mop there. He sent me that spawning mop full of extra Aleni eggs. So in the ring here, there's still those two Aleni that we've shown in the past. They're still kicking around, but they're a little bit bigger in size. So I'm trying to keep them separate for a little bit to let these guys all hatch out and grow, and then we'll combine the group. So more Aleni eggs, because Gary Lange is an awesome guy. He sent them completely free of charge to me, which that guy is just amazing. If you ever have an opportunity to have him at your club or buy some fish from him, do so. The guy is awesome. He's super helpful, and he's always open to questions. So if you get his information, which usually he does give to you, if you have questions, shoot him an email. He's an awesome guy. So these are kind of the two like really successful tanks. And then to the right here is where the Bozemanii are, and very similar to the goldie-eyed acai, I had a ton of eggs fungus up. I think there's only like one, maybe two babies in there. My roommate has seen two. I've only ever seen one at a time, and that guy's always hard to find because there's a lot more plants in there. So he's just kind of always hidden. Thankfully, I was smart and made sure there weren't very many snails with those plants. We brought snails later once eggs had hatched, but yeah, just not very many of those, unfortunately. The only thing I'm not showing you are the parvas and the maculosus. I'm going to zip over here. Here's those bullmani young that I got from Gary as well. There's 7 of them in this tank. And you can see this is just one of my simple holding tanks. There's even spare bio rings at the bottom just sitting there, keeping themselves loaded and ready if I need to throw them in a filter. And you can see these guys don't have color yet. They're still too young, but they're getting some good size. They're bolting around. They're very active. When I come to the tank, they come right up to the front. They'll go right to the top of the water expecting food. So that's good. You want rainbows to be really interactive. So let me explain my problem. What I screwed up, what's gone wrong. Rainbows, as you guys have heard in previous videos, they're very fragile babies and they have extremely tiny eggs. Now, usually when I hatch fish, in the case of rainbows, I've raised, I'll say conservatively, at least 100 fish, and it might be more like 200. I typically put plants in with them after I see hatching happening. Well, I've been working a ton, and I told my roommate, and he said, "Hey, we got some fish hatching. This is great. Do you want me to throw plants in like we usually do?" And I said, "Yeah, go ahead and throw in some floating plants." And he went ahead and did that for me. And I forgot to be very specific to say, make sure there are no snails. And on the Aleni specifically, there were 2 snails, and in a 24-hour period, they ate every good egg of the Aleni that I had. I lost every single one of them to 2 big adult snails because they're that tiny, and they'll just go through and they'll eat a little bit out of the egg, and it's just enough to kill the fish, and it's over. So my number one lesson to you guys, if you ever decide to hatch anything really from eggs, but especially rainbow fish, because their eggs are so small, make sure you do not have any snails in the tank. You can have snails later after everything is hatched to help be kind of a cleanup crew and process some of the extra food and stuff. That's great, and that's usually what I try to do too. But Yeah, I mean, that was a total bonehead error on my part, and thankfully Mr. Lang was an absolutely wonderful person and sent me an extra mop of eggs so that I have a chance to get those fish going. Um, I didn't show the parva; they're doing good, but they're just having the ring that they're in is super dirty, and it's actually a gripe I have about that product, having used it a little longer now. And in the next video, I'll explain that just to give you an idea of what's going on. And hopefully that'll give you some insights into that product. Overall, I still really like the product. I just think there's some small changes I need to do when I'm keeping fish in those rings. I won't keep them in quite as long as I have with these rainbows. It'll be no more than maybe a week, and then I'll move them very, very carefully to either their full tank or something else, whatever they have to go to. Regardless, that's your guys' big rainbow update. On the next video, I'll tell you about those rings some more, and also I'll tell you what's going on with the maculosis because I haven't shown you those either. As always, be awesome, my friends, and take care.